Hey guys, it's Christine. Welcome back to the channel. This week I'm going to be talking about Women Talking by Miriam Taves. I I'm going to just say, trigger warning, this deals with sexual assault, and that also includes the sexual assault of minors. So if you need trigger warnings, there you go. In order to tell you what the story is about, I think what I'm going to do is actually just read a passage from the very beginning of the book. There's a note on the novel to start it off. Between 2005 and 2009, in a remote Mennonite colony in Bolivia named the Manitoba Colony, after the province in Canada, many girls and women would wake in the morning feeling drowsy and in pain, their bodies bruised and bleeding, having been attacked in the night. The attacks were attributed to ghosts and demons. Some members of the community felt the women were being made to suffer by God or Satan as punishment for their sins. Many accused the women of lying for attention or to cover up adultery. Still others believed everything was the result of wild female imagination. Eventually, it was revealed that 8 men from the colony had been using an animal anesthetic to knock their victims unconscious and rape them. In 2011, these men were convicted in a Bolivian court and received lengthy prison sentences. In 2013, while the convicted men were still in jail, it was reported that similar assaults and other sexual abuses were continuing to take place in the colony. Women Talking is both a reaction through fiction to these true life events and an act of female imagination. So it's a pretty hard topic. So in the story, the men have been arrested, and the rest of the men from the colony have gone off to bail them out. They'll be gone for 48 hours. And the women who are left in the colony have decided they're going to gather and decide between 3 courses of action. They can stay and do nothing, they can stay and fight, or they can leave. And so the story takes place in this hayloft over the course of 2 days, where the women discuss their options and what they want to do. And August is the only male member of the colony who is still there, who he has been brought in to take the minutes of the meeting. He had previously been excommunicated, is that the right word, from the colony, and he went off to England, I think, for a while, and then now he's come back. And people don't really consider him a real man because he's not a very good farmer, and he is an intellectual, and so he is trusted with teaching the boys of the colony reading and writing, and that's about it. No, other than that, he is pretty well shunned by the rest of the community. So you've got him taking the notes, and the rest of the novel is the conversations of these women. And I found the writing to be extremely powerful. There's the themes are so difficult because, like, the people who have been attacked are their family, and the people who are attacking are their family. And this is their religion, that it's, as I would say, all probably religions, it is patriarchal society. So the women's voices are never considered. It's just not, nobody cares what the women have to say. There are some really great quotes in this story. It's absolutely heartbreaking, the perspective that these women have of their lives, and like, they want to keep their religion because they're very devout. They believe in God and they believe in this way of life, but they're no longer safe in their own homes against their own husbands and brothers and sons. Like, it just, I don't know what I would do if that were me, because the women are not allowed to read and write. They've never been taught. So if they leave, where are they going to go? Because it's not like they have a plot of land that belongs to them that they can go and move to. So, and they if they go into a town or anything. They don't know how to read anything. They can't write anything. That's not an easy decision. So it's very interesting. Like, there are themes on religion, there's themes on, family connection and feminism and education. And it's so well written. I really, really, really would love if everyone would go read it if they haven't already. Miriam Toews grew up as a Mennonite, so she has a very insightful point of view to write this story. At no point does it ever feel judgmental of people who live in colonies. It never feels like, ugh, get on board with the modern world and your problems will go away, because obviously that's not true either. But it never feels judgmental for this is how they want to live their lives. And they should be free to do that, but they should be free to do that in safety and know that if they are attacked, that something will be done about it, instead of just, well, it was ghosts, or this is God's judgment on you. What the fuck? Like, the whole thing's going to make me mad if I talk too long about it. So I will try to keep this review moving. It's very quiet and introspective. And even though there's no like action sequences, it's still incredibly compelling listening to these arguments and listening to these characters go through their options and what they think they should do. Like, and there's this, you're very aware that there's a time crunch. Like, the men are coming back and they have to decide what they're going to do before they get back. Because if they're going to leave, they got to get out of there before the men come back and are there to stop them. So there is like a certain tension that's sort of like, as the hours move on, you've got like, okay, you're running out of time. You really have to decide what you're going to do now. So it's very compelling in that way. I will say it gets a little repetitive at times, but it's understandable that it would get repetitive because they're trying to decide what to do, and so they tend to like bring up the same points a lot. So it can get a little repetitive, but I don't think that that's a bad thing in this situation. I think it works well in the story. And there are also touches of humor in it, even though it's such a dark and trauma-filled story, there are touches of humor that lighten up the mood at times, which I very much appreciated, because it's so hard to listen to. One of the quotes from the book that really stood out for me was, "She had everything she wanted. All she had to do was convince herself that she wanted very little." I love that. That really, when I read that, it was like, oh, these characters, I feel for them, because they have been brought up in this society that teaches you that women are secondary and what you want doesn't matter, because it's the men that call the shots. And so you just have to do what you're told. I hate that. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. But again, because this writer grew up that way, I don't know if she grew up just among the Mennonites or in like a specific colony or what, but I feel like because she grew up Mennonite, she's never judgmental about that being their way of life. So I really appreciated that. The victims of these crimes ranged in age from, I think, 60 something down to the age of 3. And that is based on what actually happened. That wasn't made up for the story. Now, one of the characters is there because her 3-year-old daughter was a victim and has an STD. So she has to get antibiotics and she's not allowed to. And it's so heartbreaking and it's so well done. And she is so very angry. And of course she is. So I like that you have a wide range, because there are people who absolutely do not want to leave. Like, they think, well, yes, this happened, but we need to forgive them, because if we can't forgive them, we don't go to heaven. And again, this is part of their religion. Like, they there's absolutely no like question of faith here. This is what they believe, and they want to get into heaven. But then the question is it forgiveness if you're being forced into forgiving? Like that's not really how forgiveness works. So you have like extremes. Like there is the character whose daughter was attacked, whose 3-year-old daughter was attacked, and she very much wants to kill them all, but she wants to leave. Then you've got other characters, who there's one in particular who is in an extremely abusive relationship, and she wants to stay because she's been so conditioned by the abuse that she has to stay. And there's such a good scene in the book and in the movie, which I'm going to talk about in a second, where she feels like she's being judged for being in this abusive relationship and taking it. And she snaps at one point and she's like, "You're all acting like I had a choice." And yeah, like, where is she going to go? You live in a small colony. Your fate is sealed. Like, you marry that guy, that's it. You're done. You can't go anywhere else. Like, what was she supposed to do? So it's so tricky. It's so layered, and I really, really liked it. Now, I want to talk briefly about the movie, because there is also a movie that came out, a couple of years ago, I think, at this point, and it's directed by Sarah Polley, and it has an amazing cast. Like, you've got Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley and Frances McDormand and Rooney Mara. Like, there's so many great actresses, like people that you would show up for no matter what they're in, and they're all in this one movie together. And it could feel stagey, just the nature of it's them in a loft talking. Like, that's what they're doing. It's women talking. And it could feel very stagey, and it never did to me. I thought it was just brilliantly done, and it's so great, the exchanges between these characters. So what I want to say here, I'm not sure how to say what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to say it. I have noticed the one thing that really, really stood out for me with this movie is that although there are flashbacks to enhance the story that's being told in the barn and in the hayloft, it never flashes back to the assault itself, ever. I love that, because it feels like so often movies rely on shocking everyone with graphic depictions of sexual assault. And I will say, anytime the movie is about that and it doesn't show it, I think actually shows the skill of the director more than when you just rely on a shocking sexual assault sequence to make people see your movie, honestly. And I have noticed in recent years, and look, maybe I'm wrong. Please, if I'm wrong on this, please say so. Say something in the comments below. But it's interesting to me that the movies that I can think of in recent years where it's about sexual assault and it doesn't show it, such as Promising Young Woman or Sorry Baby, or there was a TV show on Netflix or a miniseries on Netflix called Unbelievable, which is also really good and based on a true story. None of those show the sexual assault, even though it's about that, and all of those are directed by women. And Women Talking is no exception. It's directed by a woman, and so you've got a story where it doesn't show it, and I so appreciate that. On the flip side, you've got somebody like Ridley Scott, who decides to make a movie about sexual assault and shows it not once, not twice, but 3 times. Okay, that's a choice. So I really appreciate that it's not shown it is alluded to. You've got like flashbacks of them waking up in bed and there's like blood on the sheets or there's bruises on their thighs. So there's allusion to it, but it never shows it, and I really appreciate that. I think that is much more compelling than just relying on a graphic scene to shock everybody and be like, "Ooh, my goodness," like you don't need to show it. You really don't, and I wish people would stop. But anyway, so yeah, I would very much recommend both the book and the movie. Like I said, the movie came out I think 2 years ago, maybe it was 3. I can't remember, but it's very well done. It's really, really, really well done. So if you haven't seen that, definitely do, and I would definitely pick up this book. All right, that's it for me this week. Bye.